Hey there, I'm Seth. I'm with According to Seth. Today, I'm joined by actress and producer Rachel Whitney, here to talk about her new film, Snow Valley. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's only 5 o'clock here in Arizona, so it's not too bad.
Good. Oh yeah, I'm in LA, so
Oh,
same time
perfect.
zone. Yes.
Exactly. Arizona's like the one weird state where they like don't do daylight savings time. I don't get it.
Oh yeah. And what about Hawaii?
I think they're like 4 hours behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah, that's
Um,
good. Anyway.
But I guess getting into it, the movie was awesome. I watched it last night. I loved every minute of it. It kind of felt like My Bloody Valentine, like meets The Shining in a way. And I loved all the like Shining references that were in the movie. For your character specifically, were there any films or like characters that you drew your inspiration from, or ones that you wanted to replicate?
Um, Not necessarily ones that I wanted to replicate, but I will say that before we started filming this, so we filmed this 3 years ago,
Mhm.
and before we started filming, uh, there was a small group of us that were together, and Brandon, who was a film encyclopedia, he had seen like every film possible, but we watched the original The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby, The Omen, Poltergeist, The Shining, and so it wasn't necessarily I was trying to replicate or anything, but I think just sort of like get into that world and that space and um and then just, play pretend in that world as Laura. So, yeah, I think it was more just finding that world than a particular person.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you were fantastic in it. And, like as an actress, how do you transform yourself into this character? Like, what is your process to pull, the character from script and to give it life? And like your character throughout the film goes through like so much from like gaslighting to like just so much more. How do you like hone into all of that and give Laura like meaning?
Yeah, I read the script so many times. I don't even know how many, because I find that every single time I read a script, I discover something new. And Brandon was such an incredible writer that with his script especially, like there were always things that I was discovering every time I read the script. And I wanted to read it as much as possible to absorb as much as possible about this world. And and then with Laura, I thought about there's you learn that her parents died, and I kind of filled that in. When did that happen? How did they die? And you find some other stuff about my childhood at the end that I also worked on. And so I would just sort of sit with that and imagine myself as this other person who had gone through these life experiences, um and so that when I was on set, I could step into her shoes and
Yeah.
then interact with the people and the the world, the house, as this other person with these other lived experiences.
That's awesome. And I saw that you also produced this film. So like how does that like play into everything? Like what were some of the challenges that you faced, being an actress in it and also producing it?
Yeah, so on set, I liked to just be able to be an actor. And so my friend who was also a producer, he was kind of our on-set producer. And so he was the one that was like the go-to person for anything producer related, which was great because it was nice just to be able to interact with the other actors and the DP and the first AD just as an actor. But then like, before we started filming or like at the end of the night after we were filming, then I would, go behind, into my room and
Yeah.
do like the producer stuff. Um, but yeah, it was just sort of like switching hats sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that and like how you interacted with some of the other people on set, Tom was absolutely hilarious and he just like comes in swinging. So like I've always wanted to know this, like what do you do on set to like control like your laughter and like be able to finish the scene? Because like I would have cracked up the entire time.
Yeah. I mean, well, luckily my character is experiencing him for the first time.
Yeah.
So, you know, I could sort of play along with that of like, who is this guy? What is he doing? What is he wearing? Why does he have this? Why is he saying this? And so, I did whatever Laura would do. Um and some and I think it's more like curious than anything else. But yeah, that's it. It was there were a lot of laughs on set. That's for sure.
Yeah,
From him, David as Brannon was also hilarious, and yes, so there was so many funny moments. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I was just like I just have to be Laura
yeah.
when I'm on camera.
I know everybody had like their own personalities and it was great. And I especially loved like the ending with you guys. I don't want to like get into spoilers, but the ending was awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I won't give anything away,
Yeah,
but yeah, I thought it ended in a the last note I thought was beautiful, and but yeah, every step of the way is very unexpected, which is kind of what I love about it.
definitely. And I saw you interacted with Barbara quite a bit, Barbara Crampton. Obviously, you know,
Yeah.
like what was it like working with her? She's like, first of all, you both had such great chemistry together, and she's like such an icon. So was there what was it like working with her? And was there anything that like you learned or something that she taught you that like you still use today or that you brought onto other projects?
Yeah, Barbara, I mean, it was so amazing that she came on board, and she loved the script that Brandon wrote, and I mean, yeah, she's such a horror icon, so it was really cool that she was able to do this. And I was nervous because, like I am newer and she had so much experience, and but doing our scenes together was so fun, and she was Ellen and I was
Hmm.
Laura, and so we were, you know, doing our thing in the world of make believe, and so that was really fun. And she was very generous, and she had a lot of interesting thoughts and takes on the story. And yeah, so I think even just sort of seeing how someone operates on set and what they bring to the table, I learned a lot, just from seeing how she works and hearing what she had to say. So yeah, that was
That's
pretty cool.
awesome. Yeah, she's super nice too. I met her at like a horror convention a few months ago.
She is so sweet. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
She seems, yeah, she's awesome.
yeah.
One of the things that I thought was really cool was like the ability that your character had per se, like her little superpower. Um, do you think it was like a good thing to have, or was it kind of more of a burden, um, like knowing all these things and like being able to
I
communicate?
yeah, I think it's a gift when you know what it is and you know how to use it. But
Hmm.
I think it's just kind of like anything that makes you different or makes you unique. Sometimes it's scary and it makes you feel othered and you're not really sure why it's happening to you. But I think um, there's something beautiful about learning how to kind of step into your power, knowing um, what a unique gift it can be instead of a burden.
Yeah,
And so I think that's kind of ultimately her journey to the end of the film, is being able to utilize that power in a way, not only for herself, but for someone else too.
yeah, and I thought that was really cool and what that like power entails. I don't want to like get into it because I don't want to spoil like what it is, but I thought it was like really beautiful, and I don't think like they've ever really shown a side of like that connection and like, you know, I really appreciated that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
I know obviously, you know, Brandon passed away, which is absolutely devastating and super difficult. But I wanted to ask, was there like a favorite memory that you had on set or you know, something that you wanted to talk about? Because it was one hell of a debut. I thought this movie was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Brandon he was such a special person, and he was such a brilliant mind, incredible writer, and because of that, he was always writing every day in his head, like other stories too, like offshoots.
Mhm.
Everyone, like even the pizza boy in the movie, he had this whole uh other movie mapped out for the pizza boy, who's actually a part of like a Fast and Furious type film. He gets into his car and he's got a body in his trunk and he's like off to the races, like that. He had that story going, and then Snow Valley 2 was going to open on Heath in prison, and then we meet Heath's dad, played by Michael Douglas, and it was just like every day was an adventure. Um and he ran such a fun set, and I mean, I was like laughing every single day. So
That's
that
so
was,
awesome.
yeah.
Both of those movies sound incredible, and I hope somebody makes those. I saw his brothers were involved with it, correct? I think.
So his brother wasn't involved in this,
Okay.
but prior to this, Brandon and his brother had been a screenwriting team for about 10 years.
Oh wow.
And their two genres that they kind of specialized in were comedy, like big action comedy movies like
Mhm.
Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, and horror thriller. So it was nice that this kind of combined the two together. And yeah, and Phil is still working, and I'm excited to see what Phil does next.
That's awesome. One of the things I also wanted to ask, because I thought it was really cool, the skiing sequence. Did you know how to ski or snowboard prior to filming that? Like, how did that all go? Because it looks super fun.
Yeah, that was a fun added bonus that we got to go skiing for a day and call it work, because I grew up in New York, and we my family would I grew up in New York, so I did ski in New York,
Mhm.
but West Coast snow is definitely better than East Coast snow. So we would go out to Utah or Colorado to ski. And I think the first time I ever skied, my dad had me on like a leash. I don't know if you've seen that,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I've been skiing for a while and I love it. And yeah, we went to Park City for the day to film that.
Oh,
That was
that's
fun.
awesome. I love skiing. I'm not good at it anymore, but it's always so fun,
I feel like you could pick it up again. It's like riding a bike, right?
right?
I
That's
mean,
what they say.
just have to be a little bit more cautious because it can be dangerous, but
And wear a helmet.
it would be great. Yes,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What is one thing that you want people to take away from this film?
I so one, I hope people have a fun time watching this. I hope they're entertained. I hope they're surprised. Um, and I hope that it maybe challenges people's expectations for what a horror movie is, and what a genre bending film can do. Um, and and so yeah, I hope it leaves people feeling entertained, but also maybe is a conversation starter um for genre bending films.
Yeah. And I thought it did such a good job of doing that. I mean, there's so many different influences that I caught throughout that. So that's a really good way to put it for sure.
Oh, great. I'm happy to hear that.
Where can people find the film? Because I was trying to figure out when it releases. So like when can I tell the audience here, where they can
Yes.
watch it?
So it'll be released on VOD on March 26th, next Tuesday, and you can watch it. The most popular choice would probably be Apple or
Mhm.
Amazon, but any of the VOD platforms.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
what do you have planned next after this? Do you have any other upcoming roles?
Yeah, so um I made a short film. I acted in and produced a short film last year called Wabi Sabi. And the
Mhm.
premise is I go on a date with a white guy who knows more about Japanese culture than I do. I'm half Japanese, and I feel like, and I still have not been to Japan. And so that was sort of like the seed for the story. And it was really fun, and we're submitting that to festivals this year. So that's what's next for now.
That
And
sounds awesome.
yeah.
I love that. And especially I feel like the Japanese culture, it's getting like a huge push recently in Hollywood. Like I've been watching the show Shogun, which is like absolutely
Oh,
fantastic.
nice.
So
Yes. Oh, I love that.
yeah, it makes me so happy that like it's finally getting its like due because
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me because my mom was a Japanese American actress in the
Mhm.
80s. And, during that time, the parts for Asian Americans were so limited. So I feel very strongly about being able to tell more authentic Japanese American stories. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'll have to check that one out. I'm definitely want to see that.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Last
that
thing I wanted to ask here. I always love asking this question. So, movies are a great way to connect with people. It's kind of like how I connect with people. What is one movie that you always recommend to somebody that like you want to use as like a way for them to get to know you better?
Ooh, that's a great question. As a way to get to know me better. Hmm, So one of my favorite films is The Bridge on the River Kwai, which is a very old movie. Um, and I don't know if that would allow people to get to know me better, but I love that film so much and I love talking about it. So that could be a good conversation starter. I also really love Ordinary People, which is
Hmm.
such a sad movie, but um I love that one as well. So maybe one of those two.
That's awesome. I'll have to check out the first one you just mentioned. I haven't heard of that one before.
Yeah, it's David Lean from like 1957 or so. It takes place in a Japanese prison camp during World War II, and it's with Alec Guinness, Sesu Hayakawa, and I can't remember the other actor's name, but it's great. It's a great war film, and maybe well, no, it's a little bit different, but it's a great movie.
I'll have to check it out for sure. I love that. I always love asking this question too because sometimes people say movies that I haven't heard of, so it gives me something to watch
Yeah.
too,
Yeah, yeah,
which is
exactly.
great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with me today. I really appreciate this, and I'll make sure to spread the word because more people need to see this movie. It was awesome.
Amazing. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you so much.
Of course, you were fantastic, and
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for the time.
Of course. Thank you.